Can you see the list of everything you need to figure out? Like the little things of the day you need to figure out, or the big things of life you need to figure out, or the massive things of the world that you need to somehow figure out. Some of it is heavy stuff, like figuring out your identity, how to succeed, how to live up to your potential, how to escape. Some of it is overwhelming stuff, how to defend the helpless, how to take on the terrible system, how to parent through this, how to stay focused on what matters when there's so many distractions. Some of it is painful stuff, how to heal, how to love impossible people, how to keep going through the hurt. There are all these pressing, heavy, massive things we must figure out. But what if figuring out begins with knowing that we will never figure it out? What if the most productive move is stillness with God? There is spiritual wisdom that teaches that when we are in relationship to God, wisdom begins with surrender. There are all these pressing, heavy, overwhelming things that we must figure out. We have to see a way forward through the maze, and God says to us, stop and open the eyes of your heart. We're talking about the sacred act of discernment. The spiritually wise don't figure things out, they discern. And discernment is not deciding what the next best idea is. Discernment is being held by God as you walk through the maze. And there are 3 different parts of the sacred act of discernment. The first movements are sisters: surrender and detachment. We'll talk about surrender now. It's the intentional turning toward God in the mess and confusing fray of life. Detachment, the sister, it's just separating our true identity in God from the outcomes of life. And there's some good disciplines for being detached from the temporal stuff. The final movement of discernment, we'll talk about soon. It's receiving wisdom in the state of praise. But if we begin with a discernment, and discernment begins with surrender, let's first turn to an ancient prayer. An ancient prayer that was recorded and sung and held on to by an enslaved people in the violent empire of Babylon. We call this prayer now just Psalm 46. And for surrendering to God, it is a beautiful guide. It has this moment when the voice of God breaks through and says, "Be still and know that I am God." A command to the very core of our souls. But we all know that if we are going to get there, if we are going to be still, there is a lot that we need to get out. I mean, jitters and bad energy and fear and toxins and distrust. So Psalm 46 begins by helping us get all of this out. It begins, God is our refuge and strength, a very ready help in times of trouble. Therefore, we will not fear. Saying that we won't fear, just to be clear, does not mean that we are not afraid. In fact, it is the opposite. Saying that we will not fear, it means that we are super afraid, but we are choosing to surrender that fear to God. There is a lot to be afraid of in your life. Choose to surrender it. The prayer continues. Though the earth shakes and the mountains slip into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains quake at its swelling pride, there is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy dwelling places of the Most High. God is in the midst of her, and she will not be moved. God will help her when morning dawns. Here's this. It's this wonderful emotional image to meditate on to help the surrendering process. First, when morning dawns, that means right now it's nighttime. You are in the night, but morning is coming. You are in the dark, but light is on the way. And second, everything is falling apart. But it's okay because there is a river and a home. The waters of God continue to bring life. The home with God is impossible to destroy. Everything is falling apart, yes, but nothing will pull you apart from God forever. The prayer continues. The empires made an uproar, the kingdoms tottered, he raised his voice, the earth quaked, Yahweh of armies is with us, the God of Jacob is our stronghold. That's the refrain of the prayer, Yahweh Shabaoth, God of armies, Lord of hosts. It's a common name in the ancient scriptures. When the people or the prophets are completely powerless in the face of oppression, and they are calling out to a God who can do something, the creator God, the almighty divinity who has the power to change this wretched condition. Yahweh of armies is with us. This refrain, it reminds us that we are with the forces of ultimate justice. And then calling God the God of Jacob, it just reminds us that God is all about normal living folks. Jacob in particular was a real goofball. I mean, he messed up a bunch. He wrestled with God, but God remained his God. So calling God the God of Jacob reminds us that God is accessible and relatable. And saying the God of Jacob is our stronghold, it reminds us that this relationship is hugely protective. Yahweh of armies is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold. It's like saying the all-powerful is with us. The one with us is all-powerful. This is the refrain. The prayer continues. Come and behold the works of Yahweh, who has made desolations on the earth. This is like saying God gives and God takes away. It's such an important foundation to any sacred surrendering to God, but it is so, so hard when the core of our trust is weak. Yet it's a liberating truth. God gives, God takes away. Come see the works of God. He also makes desolations on this earth. Then the prayer continues. He makes wars to cease. To the end of the earth, he breaks the bow. He cuts the spear in two. He burns the chariots with fire. It's so beautiful. The wild, obscene destruction of humanity we call war will end forever. The bombing, the shooting, the poisoning of God's image in creation will cease. It must end, and God will end it. End war, end the violence. And then the prayer ends like this. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the empires. I will be praised among the kingdoms. Yahweh of armies is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold. The stillness and the knowing lead us to a place of pure praise. And even the destroyers of humanity and the earth are ultimately bowed into a place of praise. The all-powerful is with us. The one with us is all-powerful. Be still and know that I am God. Okay, so you can imagine all of the things that you have to get out before you can get there. Be still and know that I am God. Your fear, your nighttime, your regrets, the violent threats of the world, the doubt that God even cares about you. All of these things we have to get out, and then we can be still. Then our lives can be praise. But remember that it's just this simple. It's just this simple. Release, be still, and know God. But then you're yanked right back into human anxiety. And that's fine. That's fine. Just repeat it. Release, be still, and know God. And hold yourself there for a bit. This is intentional surrender. And there's so much that you need to figure out. But the most productive move is stillness with God. And discernment is being held by God in this long maze. And wisdom begins with surrender. Stop and open the eyes of your heart. Release and be still and know God. And then get distracted and release and be still.